Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for a new episode of Anewgo of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrisanthon, and joining me today is Sarah Haynes, who is CMO and co-owner of Shared Drive. So Sarah, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have our conversation today. And how are you feeling post IBS? We're recording this just a week right after.
Thank you so much, Anya. I am so honored to be on this podcast. I've watched your podcast for years, and this is such a big career moment for me. So thank you for having me. I feel great after IBS. I had a wonderful trip. I'm a little tired, but I think that's to be expected. And I'm just so excited for this year. I just came back with so much excitement and gratitude.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for such kind words for the podcast. And you have a podcast of your own now. So tell us a little bit about your podcast before we jump in.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I started the Just Make It Pretty podcast almost exactly a year ago. Actually, I'm coming up on my anniversary, and
Yay.
we talk about all things marketing. And I've kind of shifted it a little bit. I say it's the marketing and mindset podcast now because I have leaders on from all different types of roles and in the industry. And I really like to have really real conversations with people and topics that maybe we don't talk about everywhere. So it has been just the biggest blessing and amazing thing that I've done. I absolutely love it. And yeah, having it for a year is crazy. It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Yeah, so congratulations to you. I know how much work goes into it. People think it's so easy, you just record a conversation and ha ha ha. But no, there's a lot of hard work goes into it. So kudos to you for keeping it going. And I agree with you. It's such a great opportunity. Anyone who wants to start a podcast, I always encourage because through my podcast, I was able to meet so many people and make so many great connections. So I'm sure you agree with that as well. Now, Sarah, before we jump into our conversation, let's learn a little bit about Sarah. Who is Sarah? So take us through your life story and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your background. How did you get into home building industry and what is it that you do now?
Yeah. So I currently am living in Arizona. I have two girls, they're 8 and 10. I'm just going to go really fast. This is like the down and dirty of my life. I married my high school sweetheart when I was 20, and
Oh,
we've been married. Our anniversary this year is going to be 14 years. I started my business. I had a marketing company for 9 years before joining with Share Drive. I started that company when I actually got pregnant with my daughter. And I realized that working from home was really what I've always wanted to do. I've come from a family of entrepreneurs. So starting a business was always something that I wanted to do. And it just kind of fell in my lap of hey, you should do this on your own. So I started that. I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, which I will say, if you're starting a business, maybe don't do it at that point. That's a horrible time to start a business, but it worked out. I got to be home with my daughter. I grew it incrementally over time and started adding more clients. And one of my very first clients was a home builder that I had worked at a previous job. I worked at a print shop before that, and I had worked with that home builder before they were looking for graphic design work. And so I got in with them, and that's actually also where I met my partner now, Sherry Morton. She was working with that builder as well. That was really my introduction into the home building, was working with that builder, and it was so amazing. I learned so much about the industry. I got to work on all of their collateral, all of their marketing and everything. So I learned a ton there. And then I've just grown since there, adding more and more clients. I joined with Sherry officially almost 3 years ago now, and we merged the two companies. She started Share Drive and I merged in the marketing side. And now I lead the creative team here at Share Drive. We do everything from graphic design to content creation, campaign management, branding, websites, pretty much everything. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I got here.
amazing. So, and then in addition to the marketing side of Shared Drive, of course, you guys also have an outsource for OSC services. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that one as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we outsource and train OSCs. Become your OSC department. We work right with your sales team. We become just part of your team. So nobody knows that this is an outsourced service essentially. And it goes so much beyond just picking up the phone. We manage the CRM, we implement CRMs, and we create capability within your team. That's something that's really important to us. So we're working alongside your sales team, your marketing team, making sure all of the processes are in place for you to actually grow. So that is the service that Sherry started with Share Drive 6 years ago. So we love working with all of our builders, and I really feel like we get to make such a huge impact for builders that haven't never had an OSC or haven't had a successful OSC program before.
Amazing. And I mean, we're in 2026, so sometimes I wonder how is it we still don't have OSCs and
I know.
what is going on here? But we'll get into that a little bit later. First, of course, now that we are a few days post IBS, International Builder Show, I was just telling Sarah earlier that I was literally laid out on the couch for the last 3 days in that take me away position right now, right? It's just so much, and both of us are introverts, so it's definitely very, very intense, but so very worth it. But there's definitely a reason why we only do this once a year. So, Sarah, what were some of the highlights from the show for you? I know we ran into each other a couple of times, so I know you're out and about. So, start with pre-show, going all the way, kind of give me some of the best moments that you've experienced.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind week. It always is. This is my fourth IBS, and I definitely felt like a shift this year. I felt like the conversations were so much better. I felt the energy in the room was different, and I felt a lot less tired actually this year than I have in a lot of other years. And I think that's really a testament to kind of just the conversations that people are more open to. But that really all started at the Young Guns and Legends reception or event that they had. That was a blast. Viewing the New American Home was just incredible. Like that home was so cool. And it was really nice to connect with everybody that also won Young Guns and Legends and get to talk to everyone. So that was a huge highlight for me. It was a great start to the week.
Which,
Um,
congratulations to you, because this year you are part of that class of Young Guns and Legends, formerly known as 40 Under 40. So, congrats, huge congrats to you on that. And we got to hang out a little bit because I got to tour that house as well. And oh my Lord, what a home, huh?
it was so cool. And it was such an honor to be there with all of you guys and all of the legends as well. That really changed the whole vibe, I feel like, having the legends there as well. So that was just so cool. I would move into that house. I would move into the little side office house any
Yes.
day.
Yeah, so if you guys have not had a chance to tour the New American Home, is what we're talking about here. It's a home that is built every single year in conjunction with IBS. So they showcase the latest and the greatest in new construction technology, anything from the type of materials that go into the home to, all the bells and whistles. I mean, it's really crazy. So this home was sitting in an existing neighborhood in Winter Park, Florida. So we took a bus ride out there. And yeah, I mean, the house was over 8,000 square feet. It's very modern, lots of glass, and the views, my goodness, you walk through the house and you literally seeing this lake in front of you with an infinity edge pool. So it was absolutely gorgeous. I could definitely picture myself there. Even though it's not my style personally, but I was like, you know what? I can definitely see myself there. Like you said, that office alone, they had a standalone building. That was an office, and I was like, I can just see myself recording a podcast right here.
I'm I'm convinced that I would be so much more productive if I had that office. Like I feel like I just need it now.
I agree with you. I I agree with you. I think there's no question about that. That office is
Mhm.
amazing. So, yeah, if you guys have not had a chance to check it out, they do have pictures online. So I will link that in the show notes so you can definitely check it out. And I'll also link my personal tour that I did so you can also view it from my eyes. All right, so we kicked it off with the bang before the show even started. We were there early. So now the show itself, before the show, you guys also had a great event, right? Or no, that was during the show.
It was on Wednesday night we had our event, yeah.
Wednesday, that's right. The whiskey business. I don't think you could go anywhere without seeing some promo on social media. You guys did a hilarious, especially Brad Steele. I loved his promos on social media for that event. So tell us a little bit about that event.
Yeah, our event was a huge success, and I have to give Brett like the biggest props because he just embodied the vibe of what whiskey business is, and we like to keep it very intimate and quiet and invite people that are actually changing the industry and have real conversations. And our co-host this year with Open House AI, Foundation and High Arc, they really did that, and it was so much fun. The location, we went to the vintage speakeasy, which was so cool. And just, it was totally a success. Brett, also David Lynch from Open House, they did videos as well. And so we really upped the game with the promos this year. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It looked like such a great group of people and a great event. Unfortunately, we had our own event during the same night. I think there were so many things going on Wednesday night. That it was like literally you couldn't throw a rock without being like, oh, there's another party. Yep, there's another party. So yeah, unfortunately, I missed out on that one. Now, how about education? So we don't just go to socialize, as much fun as it is to see all your friends and make new connections. There's definitely a ton of educational sessions. So, did you get a chance to attend any of them, and what were some of the highlights for you?
I did. After I spent the 2 hours on the bus trying to get there, I did get to go to a couple sessions. I think David Hagen is always one of my favorites. There was not a dry eye in that whole thing. Like his stories and the information he shares, like it's just so good. Also, his wife was sitting in the front row, which was so cute, and he mentioned her a lot. So I really enjoyed that. He talked a lot about the gaps in our sales process and really being just human. It was really like using empathy. That was the biggest thing I got out of it was like, yes, we're trying to sell homes, but we're selling homes to humans and can we connect with them? And he shared some just really emotional stories. So that was a favorite for sure. Also Corey Charles and Abby Murata. She does like those two are just like total pros. Their session was amazing as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I love those two together. And it's so fun to watch their friendship and relationship through all the years and how Abby was mentoring Corey. And, it's interesting to see that dynamic. I'm so happy that those two still stay together and stay close to each other as they go their separate ways in their careers. It's always such a great feeling. So a lot of the conversations that I felt were around there's a lot of talk about AI assistants coming, and I feel like there was a little bit of a back and forth between people of is it a good thing or is it not a good thing? And for those of you who are not familiar with AI assistants are sort of the next generation of chatbots that we've been exposed to for many years now. Typically, it sits on builders' website, and so your prospects are able to communicate with this AI assistant, get information about the builder, whether it comes from your website or some exterior documents. But the biggest difference between the AI assistants and kind of the previous version of that is that previous version was really just a decision tree, right? If somebody asks this is what you're going to say. If you did this, then this is what you're going to say. So there's a lot of kind of dead ends that you would hit as a customer going through this experience. For me personally, I do not like to talk to people at all in the sales process. If I can hold off until the very last minute, if I must speak to a live person, I will. But if I can do it on my own, that is my preferred method. So I personally have experienced those chatbots in the past, and I know how frustrating they can be sometimes when you hit that dead end. You're like, I guess I have to call the human for this. Where now with AI assistants, hopefully, again, it's still very, very new technology, but the promise is that it runs on LLM, so it's not limited to those yes or no answers. It's actually able to have conversations. It's able to answer open-ended questions, which is very impressive. And hopefully, as we go and we train the chatbots and they learn more and more about our industry, the AI assistants will become smarter and smarter and will be able to do more for us. So the debate has been in industry is it something that we should be using, right? I've seen some posts before IBS on, hey, I hear that salespeople are not getting back to prospects. And how can this be when we're not exactly swimming in sales right now? The market is definitely tough market. And so it seems like we're not getting back to people and prospects. And actually, I just had Leah Fellows on the podcast right before you, and they did their annual mystery shop. And yeah, it's not looking good. So whether you have an OSC or you don't have an OSC, numbers do look significantly better with an OSC versus no OSC. But still, nobody was getting back to these prospects within the first 5 minutes, which, as we know, those first 5 minutes are absolutely critical in making the sales. You work in a company that provides an OSC service, so I'm curious to get your take on that. What are your thoughts? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do we need combination of both? Like, what's your take?
Yeah, we're really excited about the new technology coming out. I mean, at Share Drive, we're very technology focused and forward. So, we're excited about it. I love the secret shop that the industries do. And I think that it is a big problem. And I think our OSCs are so busy. They've got so many things that they're managing, and there's just so much going on all the time. Like, it's really hard for a human to get back with a personalized message and take in all this info and send that out within 5 minutes. And so with the AI now, like if we can have those chatbots on websites, I think it's a great thing. I think it gives our OSC more time to actually do the personalization, to reach out with real insights and be a lot more human with them because we have the insights from the AI. The other thing that I've had brought this up in a couple conversations about the chatbots, even outside of our industry, the same kind of shift is happening, right? And there's been studies done about the type of questions that a buyer will ask an AI chatbot are different than what they're going to ask a human. And sometimes they will reveal like their fears and like things that they don't want to maybe tell a person right away. They would ask the AI that. And so with a lot of these technologies, we can actually get those transcripts and we can see what they're asking and we can address those fears and those things that they weren't really comfortable bringing up yet before they ever do. And that to them just brings down that anxiety level. They feel heard. They feel like, oh, wow, this builder really gets me. So I love the idea of being able to use these technologies to be more human and be more personalized.
I agree with you. So I'm glad we're on the same page with that because there's definitely a lot of people who are pushing back on this, saying we shouldn't take humans out of the home buying process, which I don't think this is taking humans out of a home buying process. I think it's funny to me that humans are pretending to be robots on the other side of the screen typing, right? Because most of the shoppers probably assume going into this that this is AI, that this is not a real person actually chatting back with you. So, my question for skeptics is it really the best use of a person's time? Is that how we build relationships best over the screen, separated, chatting? I don't think that that is necessarily the best way that we can build relationships. I definitely think there's place for people, despite me being I don't know, anti people in the sales process myself. I do think that there's a role for people, and there comes a point where you definitely want to speak with the person. And not to mention, some people will only want to speak with the person. And I think it's important to build that into your AI assistant, where if somebody says, I want to speak to a human, you should have a process to transfer them to a human if that is what they want. But I agree with you as far as the intel that you're getting and the types of things that people are asking are really eye-opening. One of our clients, Lombardo Homes, recently rolled out AI assistant for their website, and Melissa Servin, who is their VP of marketing, she said she was amazed to see those transcripts and what people were asking for because those are not the type of questions that they ever hear from the salespeople. So the types of questions that they were getting, it was really eye-opening. For example, somebody would drive by their community that is to be built and it was still not being advertised on our website, and people were asking about the community that's coming. And so Melissa was like, should I be putting that information for AI assistant that's maybe not yet available on our website, but for them to answer and start building that VIP list earlier than later? And if you think about it, it's the same principle where, we see it at McDonald's with the self-serve kiosks. People are ordering 33% more. Their checks are higher, about 33% higher than people who order with a person. Because guess what? The thing never fails to ask, do you want fries with that? Do you want to upside that meal? And sometimes, we can feel judged by the person if we stand in front of them and say, yeah, you know what? Let me supersize that and let me get that ice cream sundae on top of that, right? But if you know that it's a robot, it's a chatbot, it's an AI assistant, then you do feel like it's easier to speak to. I can relate even with popularity of therapists. That is one avenue where it's rising is AI therapists as opposed to human therapists. And I can see how you would be more comfortable as a person to reveal maybe some of your dirtiest, darkest secrets to AI therapist as opposed to a human therapist because you're not going to get judged by AI, or maybe it's judging you, but it's not something we'd really worry about. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think it's so interesting because like you just gave all those examples of ways that AI is working in our life and it's being implemented already. So for home builders to be like, no, we're against it, it's not really, to me, you're not really taking into effect that your buyers are living out in the world where this is becoming normal. And so to just not have it in home building doesn't really make sense. The expectation is going to be there already. And we know that humans' attention spans and the amount of time that they will wait for an answer is so short. And I was at an event last year and they were talking about how our attention spans are worse than a goldfish, like literally scientifically lower than a goldfish. We can't risk that time gap
hmm
because they're going to move on, and if they can just get a little bit of information, a lot of times then they'll be ready, like you said, to reach out to a real person. I'm totally that way. If I can't do something online and I don't get what I need there, I'm just going to go somewhere else.
yeah,
I know it's out there. I know what I want is out there.
yeah, absolutely. So let's shift our conversation a little bit more to marketing side since you are a marketer at heart. So what are some of the conversations that you're hearing now working with so many builders across the country? What are some of the concerns that they're bringing up, especially as this market, it's better than last year, but we're still kind of in the weeds with it.
Yeah. I think a lot of builders I've heard over and over and over, like, oh, this year is going to be more of the same. And it's kind of this like, oh, it's going to be more of the same feeling. And I get that. And so I hear a lot of builders that are like, well, what can we do different now? It's like we've made it through this whole year of this industry. We were grinding all last year, and now it's like we have to do something different. We have to change something to try to gain some ground here. And one of the conversations that I've absolutely loved having is talking about differentiation. How can we look different than the builder down the street? And it's really exciting as a marketer because that's like all I do. That's like what I'm thinking about all the time. And it goes all back to branding, which is my biggest passion. So I've had so many more branding conversations lately that makes me really excited. And when I say branding, I'm not talking about new logos. I'm talking about like messaging. I'm talking about core values, core mission, all of these things, unique selling propositions. So like all of that being so much more valued and identified as something is really important. That's really got me excited.
Yeah, so what are some of the mistakes that you see builders make when it comes to branding specifically?
A lot of builders in the past, we've done a lot of the same things because that's what's worked. And it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so I find that a lot of builder brands were set up and they were great. They put a lot of effort into it. And then it was like checked off the list and it's done. And there haven't been a lot of updates made to it. And so when I talk to especially new clients that we're working with, I'm like, who's your target buyer? How are you different from the next builder? All of that, and they basically tell me like, well, we sell to everyone and we're the exact same as the builder down the street. And so yeah. So I'm like, I'm trying to have these conversations where it's like, okay, how can we really narrow in who are you talking about? Because if you're talking to everyone, really you're talking to no one. And it's really hard for a buyer to differentiate why you're better than that builder down the street And it's been great actually, the addition of AI into that conversation, because AI uses that same differentiation to make recommendations
Hmm.
for in those conversations when buyers go in and they're like, "Hey, what's the best builder in this area?" It's using all that information from your website. And so being able to use that in these conversations and talk about how can we put more information on your website that your buyers actually care about, that is the branding that I'm like really working on this year. And I think it's really making a huge difference.
I love that. Branding at its core is like the 101 of marketing, right? And
Yeah.
as a marketer, we hear that so many times that, oh, well, I sell to everybody. I don't want to narrow my message because I don't want to exclude all those other people. Like you're so right. If you're talking to everyone, you're speaking to no one, literally. And one of the examples that I have, I was privileged to share the stage at IBS with Elena Money Garman, who is, of course, a branding genius. And what makes her brand so unique is that she has an undeniable, unmistakable voice. And she's not afraid to use that voice. She's not afraid to repel people
Yeah.
as much as she's worried about attracting people. And so when we spoke, she really talked about branding in a way that they created these packages for their buyers. And when they were thinking through the different packages that they were creating, they were not thinking your typical, okay, my avatar is a 28-year-old girl named Molly, and she has a dog, and she works at Goldman Sachs, and she drives a Mercedes, and she, you know, kind of like, which is a very great start, right? If you are a
Yeah.
builder and you're like, I need to figure out my avatar, and especially getting down to community level, like that is a great exercise to go down that deep and really figure out what are they driving, where do they shop. It's excellent. But she took it a step further, where instead of just limiting to, I don't want to say superficial, but superficial markers in a way,
Mhm.
she really dug deep into who is that person at its core? What are their values? What's important to them? How do they want to feel in their home? So she really took it a step further with those questions. And what came out of that, it was a collaboration with Dig, which is Chad Davies' company, is these amazing packages that they put together. And the way they were able to tell that story was like nothing else that I have seen in home building industry. So if you guys are looking for some inspiration for this, Elena Money Garman with Garman Homes all day, every day. Check it out and see what they've done. And she's definitely a great person just to follow in general on social media if you don't know who she is, in case you've been living under the rock, because she nails it. She is true to who she is. She knows exactly who she is, and that translates into the homes and everything they do at Garmin Homes. You can see it, you can taste it, you can breathe it. There's no mistake that it's Garmin Homes versus some other builder.
Yeah, she is absolutely incredible. And it really just goes back to so many basic things that humans want. Humans want to be understood. They want to feel like they are valued. They want to be listened to. And so when you build marketing like that and you build a brand like that, all of your buyers feel that way and you make such a deeper connection and you're able to really impact their lives. We're building the backdrops to their entire lives. So it's just so important. And I love what she's done. I follow her. She's absolutely incredible. So I
Yeah.
agree.
So, Sarah, if somebody's like, okay, well, sounds like branding is something that I should maybe revisit this year. We've done it a while ago. And again, branding is not something you do once, right? It's something that is ongoing. Brand is kind of like your personality of your brand. It
Yeah.
evolves over time. You mature, maybe, maybe not. Maybe you take different direction. So it's a living, breathing thing. So if somebody's like, you know what, I really need to take a second look at this, where do you typically tell builders to start? Like, Is there a good exercise that they can go through? Is there a favorite book that you like on branding? Is there a list of questions that they should be asking themselves and their customers, their sales team? How do you even come up with that idea of a brand, especially if you're maybe a production builder competing in a busy market, say like DFW, where you have literally hundreds of builders competing against you that have very similar product, that have very similar types of products that go inside the home, and the price point may be very similar.
Yeah, there's definite challenges out there. One of the things we definitely want to know who our buyer is. And I feel like a lot of builders, they at least have some idea. So we can build on that when I'm working with them. But a lot of times they don't really spend as much time thinking about who they are as a company and like what inside of their company, the people that they have working for them are your built-in differentiator. We are all unique. And so how can you use those personalities, the people that you have, what they care about, and what you care about collectively to kind of guide that, and how does that speak to your ideal buyer? So those stories can really make a huge difference. And a lot of times when I sit down with builders, those are the first questions I ask. It's like, who are you guys? What is your story? What's your background? Why do you do this? What is important to you? And then we just build from there. And then we connect that with what's important to your buyer. Definitely those exercises where you're just thinking, where does my buyer shop? What are the other things? One of the questions, I actually learned this from Kate Ladon. She's a branding genius on LinkedIn. But she asked, what books do your buyers buy on Amazon? And you can search different types of your buyer profile and look at those books. And it's like, this is the type of information that they're looking for. So how can you connect your messaging similarly? So I like to ask a lot of random questions like that to really get people outside of that box of like, we build homes with 5 bedrooms and this, like they just get so laser focused on like the details of their homes and not about the experience that they're creating around them.
Mm-hmm. And then bringing it back to technology versus human touch during the sales process, what are your thoughts on showing humans on your website? So I know a lot of builders are like, we don't know if we want to put the face to the name for our OSC because what if they leave our company? We don't really want to show our employees on our website or on social media because again, what if they leave or how can we trust this one person? So can you give us some recommendations around that? Because I think it's such a great idea. If you can show people, it definitely will differentiate you from the sea of gray.
Oh, yeah. People want to see people. I don't think it's an option on having people on your website. You absolutely need to have faces. I've had that same experience and that same conversation with builders like, oh, well, what if this employee leaves? Every company ever in the existence man has had a company employees leave. Like that happens. First of all, get some media releases so that you're not legally required to pull those down. But two, it's okay. If somebody that leaves, it's okay. And you can always switch that out. Your website is a living, breathing thing. I think your buyers also understand that like people don't stay at jobs forever. So, just realizing that it does not have to be absolutely perfect. I would definitely put your OSC's picture on the website, though. That's the first person that your buyer's going to reach out to. They want to know who they're talking to. So that's just for sure. And then I'd say put your salespeople on there as well. Like when they go into your sales office, especially for me as a woman, like if I'm going to go drive somewhere to an appointment and I'm going to meet someone at this house, like I want to know who I'm meeting. I want to know what they look like. I want to have talked to them before. That to me is just non-negotiables. And I really encourage all builders to get some branding photos done, get photos of your team, and show personality. These people are going to be in your buyers' lives for a while you're building this home. So like, let them get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Sarah, as we start to wrap up today's conversation, was there anything that we didn't cover today or anything that you think is important for our listeners to understand relating to IBS or not relating to IBS as we talked about branding?
I do want to shout out to all of the winners at nationals. So we were at nationals this year. Just huge congratulations. A few that I have to name personally. Felicia Berry won OSC of the year. Huge congratulations to her. I got to meet her in person and she's just the sweetest. She really embodies what an OSC is. So huge congrats to her. Also, Jordan Brown with the Sales Leader of the Year. Very excited for him. I've been along on his journey a little bit, and I'm just so excited. So, all the award winners, huge congrats. But those two have a place in my heart.
Yes, same, same. And Taylor Humphreys also. So there's just so many great award winners this year. If you can go to the nationals, I think one thing you walk away with is just like in awe of how amazing our industry is and how many rock stars we have. Another one I'm thinking about is Tiffany George, dear friend of mine as well. So, so many rock stars. So, yes, congratulations, you guys. We're all here cheering for you from the sidelines. And next year, there's your chance to submit. And one thing, I will be doing a lot more award submissions as a marketing professional because you know what? Those chat GPTs, they love it when you have an award. They love it when you have an award or something is going on, right? Or you have a great review. So that is another opportunity. Easy PR is to submit for awards. Hopefully, you have some great products that you can showcase. Hopefully, you have some great people that you can showcase and get those award nominations and get those trophies because it's not just good for you as a company, for your employee morale, but also for your brand and for searchability in this new AI world. So, with that, Sarah, tell everybody how they can find you. So, if somebody is listening to this and they're like, you know what, we really need to revisit our branding, or if they need additional help with marketing, or they happen to not have any OSCs manning the phone and they're like, we better get on it. So, how can they reach out? How can they find out more about Shared Drive and to connect personally with you online?
Yeah, well, LinkedIn is the quickest way to find me. I post almost every single day on there. So search me on LinkedIn, Sarah Haynes. That's Sarah with an H. And then sharedrive.com, which has two D's, SharedDrive.com. My contact information is on there as well, or you can email me at sarah@sharedrive.com.
Awesome. And I will link it in the show notes so you guys can click on it very easily and find all of that information. And Sarah, thank you so very much for being on the show today. Really, really appreciate you being here. I'm glad we got to know each other a little bit more. I love seeing my fellow podcasters succeed, and I love watching everything that you do. So thank you again for being here, and hopefully, I'll see you again in person very soon.
Thank you, Anya. Yes, I hope to see you again soon. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.